Can one step into darkness change the course of history? Can one look at an ancient chamber bring a curse upon a man that will take his life? Today I will take you on a journey to the very heart of the mysteries that have inspired fear and fascination for over 100 years. Together, we will discover the history of the tomb of Tutankhamun, a pharaoh whose name was forgotten for thousands of years, and today arouses fascination and mysterious anxiety. But this will not be an ordinary story about archaeology. This is a story not only about treasures, but also about mysterious deaths, unexplained events, and questions that remain unanswered to this day. In each of these questions lies a mystery that still shocks the world. Do you want to know how one discovery changed the course of history? How can the world be astonished and shake up what we have known so far? Stay with me until the end, because this story has more than one secret. November 1922. That was when the real adventure began, which would change the face of archaeology forever. Howard Carter, a British archaeologist who had been excavating in the Valley of the Kings for years, discovered something that no one had expected. After years of fruitless searching, full of hopes and disappointments, a corridor leading downward appeared beneath the mounds of sand. Finally, as Carter and his team stood at the end of the mysterious passage, they saw a closed door, a door that had not been breached for 3,000 years. Tension filled every breath. Carter's heartbeat must have quickened as the chisel uncovered the first bit of sealed clay. When the door was finally pushed open, everything came to a halt. An incredible sight met their eyes. Golden chariots, statues, jewelry, and in the center of it all, a huge sarcophagus made of solid gold. "I see wonderful things." These words of Carter went down in history. What they saw was supposed to be just the beginning. The beginning of a discovery that, on the one hand, was supposed to be a triumph of archaeology, but on the other, it began to open the door to dark secrets. Secrets that were not supposed to be revealed. Something that was supposed to come to light, changing not only the face of Egypt, but also the history of the world. Who was this mysterious pharaoh whose tomb remained forgotten for 3,000 years? Tutankhamun came to the throne as a child, aged just 9. He was the son of Pharaoh Akhenaten, who attempted to bring about a religious revolution in Egypt. Akhenaten, in the name of the new order, imposed the worship of one god, Aten. These changes caused great chaos, opposition from priests and people who were not ready for such drastic changes. Egypt's rulers changing religion? It sounded like a revolution, but in this case, a failed one. Akhenaten left the country in ruins, and his son Tutankhamun, just 9 years old, had to restore the old order. And so he did. After taking the throne, he tried to correct the mistakes of his father. He restored the old deities, facing enormous difficulties. Just a few years later, Tutankhamun died at a young age, only 19 years old. The death of the young pharaoh became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of ancient Egypt. It is a mystery that still raises questions about what happened. How could a young, hopeful ruler die so suddenly? Why was there no information in his grave that could explain his death? Traces of injuries were found on the skull of the pharaoh's mummy. It looked as if the young pharaoh had been hit in the head. Additionally, a leg fracture was found, which seemed to be serious. Some researchers suggested that it could have been an accident, for example, a fall from a chariot. Others claimed that Tutankhamun could have been poisoned, and the injuries were sustained after his death during inept embalming. Let us consider how it was possible for the young pharaoh to die so suddenly. What could have happened to end the life of the young king in such a dark way? We now come to one of the most controversial and unexplained aspects of the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, the pharaoh's curse. Shortly after the tomb in which Tutankhamun was buried was opened, things began to happen that many considered to be no accident. Lord Carnarvon, the main sponsor of the excavations, died just months after the tomb was opened. Interestingly, the cause of death was a mosquito bite that led to infection and a deadly fever. But here's where something strange comes in. At the exact moment Carnarvon died, all the lights in Cairo went out. At the same time, in England, his dog let out one last terrifying howl. Such synchronicities and strange coincidences began to grow in people the feeling that something dark was lurking around this discovery. Or maybe the curse of the Pharaoh really did exist. Was it the curse that led to the tragic deaths of others associated with the excavation? After Carnarvon's death, others who had participated in the discovery began to experience strange and tragic events. George J. Gould, an American millionaire who visited the tomb, also died of fever. Aubrey Herbert, Carnarvon's brother, suddenly went blind and then died of infection. Hugh Evelyn White, an archaeologist who examined the tomb, committed suicide, leaving a letter saying that the Pharaoh's curse haunted him. And that wasn't all. Arthur Mace, one of Howard Carter's aides, died of kidney failure. Richard Bethel, Carter's secretary, was found dead, probably strangled. His father, Lord Westbury, in an act of grief at his son's death, threw himself from the 7th floor. Are these just coincidences? Did something dark happen after the tomb was discovered? After Carnarvon's death, other members of the expedition began to fall victim to unexplained tragic events. Soon, it began to be seen as more than just coincidences. These events left many people wondering, what if this curse really exists? Sometimes these events brought so much unrest into people's lives that they began to wonder if they were cursed. Soon after, more people began to die. It was hard to believe that it was just a coincidence. Even scientists began to theorize that there might be more to it than just chance. It seems that some people really believed in the curse of the Pharaoh. After the death of George J. Gould, an American millionaire who visited the tomb, no one had any doubts. Gould died of a fever, like many others. After all this, disturbing stories began to circulate about people who came into possession of mysterious artifacts from the tomb, and their lives were changed dramatically. Some claimed that those who touched the gold were cursed. The unusual series of misfortunes and tragic events gave the sense that something dark was lurking in the shadow of this discovery. Of course, scientists and rationalists have tried to find a scientific explanation for these events. They have pointed to the presence of toxic molds in the tombs, which could cause lung infections, especially in people with weakened bodies. The aspergillus fungi that were discovered in the tomb could indeed cause serious health problems. Many of those who met tragic ends already had weakened immune systems. At that time, knowledge of such threats was limited, so there was a good chance that contact with fungi or bacteria caused infections that could lead to death. At the same time, it is impossible not to notice that many of the people who died were directly connected to the excavations. Is it possible that all of these people were simply exposed to danger due to unknown biological factors? But is this really enough to explain such coincidences? And can we so easily rule out theories about supernatural forces? Although most of us know the story of the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, few realize that the real story doesn't end with the opening of the tomb. What happened after the Pharaoh's death is as mysterious as anything that happened during the excavation. Let us recall that the Pharaoh died young, at the age of only 19. His death was quick and mysterious, and the tomb itself in which he rested was full of precious treasures. This young Pharaoh became a symbol of the great discovery, but his story also became a dark testament to what can happen when too many secrets are uncovered. After his death, nothing was the same. When Carter discovered his grave, his team did not realize that they were discovering something that would not only arouse awe, but also destroy the lives of many people. His discovery became a true legend, but as is usually the case, legends are full of dangerous elements. Or was it this dangerous ancient power that lurked among the Pharaoh's treasures? What if something in that tomb had been hidden for thousands of years, and discovering that secret had consequences? What do you think about this? About the whole series of misfortunes that happened after the discovery of the tomb? Is it all just a coincidence? Or is there really something supernatural lurking in these ancient artifacts? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want, and see you in the next episodes.